Hi, good afternoon. I'm Michelle McIsaac, the Chief Strategy Officer at Trotter.
And I am Joe Botting, the Director of Grants and Data. We're excited to be here today to talk to you a little bit about some of the support and wraparound services that we provide. But Michelle is the one who's leading off, so I'm going to throw it back to her.
Thanks, Joe. We're a 124-year-old organization that may seem like one of the least likely organizations who should be involved with CED. We're a rescue mission in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and we're serving individuals and families experiencing homelessness. And we care for about 4,000 unique individuals each year, and that includes or is in addition to about 1,000 children that we'll see every year. But we're a lot more than that. We have a very large, robust prevention and diversion program that last year saw nearly 400 families diverted from homelessness. We also have an incredible outreach program that actually takes services and our programs out into the community to those individuals who don't want to come inside a shelter for food and shelter on especially very, very cold evenings. We also, we had a CEO who recently went to Denver, lucky Denver, who was frustrated about 6 or 8 years ago and said there's not enough affordable housing, so we're going to build it. So we've started to build affordable housing, which includes Trotter will be the first to build a tiny home community attached with workforce development training programs and entry-level jobs here in the city limits of Grand Rapids, which also then talks about or allows us to talk about just a minute about our workforce development programs, which serve adults as well as high school students. So we got involved with CED because there's one important aspect of Trotter that makes us a lot different than a lot of our sister agencies throughout the country. In 2020, the Trotter board affirmed the leadership goal that 70% of its revenue would come from other sources outside of traditional charitable giving in 10 years. Now, COVID has impacted that a bit, and so has our current search for a new CEO. What that did, though, however, was begin to prompt us at taking a look at what we were already doing and the companies that perhaps we could acquire in order to begin to achieve that goal. So currently we're about to open our 7th or 8th thrift store. So we have thrift stores. We have an organization that we acquired 4 years ago called Next Step of West Michigan, and they are a wood manufacturing company. We also recently built a 20,000 square foot manufacturing building, and that will provide about $100,000, maybe $120,000 worth of income every year to Trotter. And that's how we met CED, was because we had secured funding for our wood manufacturing company as well as for the expansion of our thrift programs. And what we were able to do, because we naturally do that, is Trotter still continues to do so, still continues to provide wraparound services to those companies. So we didn't have to seek out what those barriers may be. We are well aware of what the barriers are to people seeking employment, to people seeking additional job training, to people who are seeking housing, people who have mental health barriers. All those pieces we're familiar with, but more importantly, we have been very successful in helping people to overcome those barriers. And it's not just Trotter functioning on its own. We have partnerships with agencies throughout the community to make sure that whatever we're not able to do, that we have a partner who's able to do it with us, to ensure that somebody can remain in stable, sustainable, livable wage employment. I was just going to say some of those partnerships, though, are bigger than that. When we talk about than just the services that are provided. So I was thinking of the COC, which is the continuum of care, which just about every community has one. Salvation Army, United Way will help us provide services or partners. And then again, a lot of other nonprofits. So in explaining exactly how those partnerships may work and how we may work with companies is Joe.
Yeah, so like Michelle said, Mount Trotter Ministries in Grand Rapids, Michigan, a mid-size American city. We've been around for 124 years. So while we can and do find and utilize other data sources, we have 4,000 people coming through our doors every year as part of our data source. We see those people, whether they are coming from a homeless encampment, or they're a family who just got evicted, or just a person who's struggled to maintain employment for years. So we partner. So some of the specific services, really to dive into the wraparound service, some of the specific services that we provide that are closely aligned with the CED program are really around our workforce development and our prevention and diversion teams. Our prevention and diversion team works quite a bit with local schools. Every school has a McKinney-Vento homeless liaison. So there's a person in the school system that we're able to reach out to help identify not just homeless, but low-income families that are at risk. And these are the types of families that could be really good candidates for obtaining jobs through CED programs. And so what our team really does is work to help stabilize those families. They may have a job already, they probably do, but they have concerns. They have a car that just broke down and now they can't get to work. They have a medical bill that's a little too expensive and hard to pay. So our prevention and diversion team wraps around those families with some, what we call it, flexible funds. You may call it something different in your communities or different funders. Everyone has different names for things, but we call them flexible funds, where we can come alongside the family and help them out, a one-time cost assistance. So one family that we had this past year, the parents had great jobs, but their car broke down and it was like a $2,000 repair. So it's a little bit expensive. And so we were able to partner with them with some of our flexible funds. We were able to partner with local churches who were able to provide some funding as well. And we were able to partner with a local mechanic shop. We're blessed that we have a mechanic shop owner on our board, so that helps. So we were able to partner with them to do that repair essentially at cost. So we brought the cost down. We brought some money together with the family, and we were able to get their car repaired so that they did not have to lose that stable employment. And so really that prevention and diversion program helps wrap around a lot of families. About 600 families we worked with last year, helping keep over 400 of those families really stably housed in their current situation. And just, maybe trying to head off a question or two here as far as, the program sounds great, but where do you get the funding for it? We have been blessed to get funding from a couple of different sources, some local foundations for sure. But our local United Way was able to help secure some funds that we're able to access as well. So that's definitely one that we would recommend as, reach out to your local United Way. If they themselves can't partner, they may be able to help you find a partner. A bit of a story. I get to tell the stories. Michelle just had the history. Another bit of a story, kind of on the workforce development side of our work. We have workforce development programs because, like Michelle said, we work with people experiencing homelessness. And so most of them would be considered low income. Some of them considered zero income as well. And so what we do is we help those who are either marginally connected to the workforce or have been out of the workforce for a few years to learn job skill training. And so that could be as simple as helping them build a resume and learn how to interview better. It could be a lot more in-depth. One of our programs with the entity we merged with, Next Step, is a woodworking company, and we have a woodworking training program where they learn that skill in that program. And so finding partners who have these types of programs could be a great onboarding an on-ramp for people to help find these jobs with your CED partner companies. But one element of our workforce development program is what we call a job coach. So our clients go through the programming, they find a job somewhere, but then our job coach follows them into their job. And we don't mean they walk behind them as they walk in the door, but they have that, they make that connection with the employer. They already have the connection with our client. And so our job coach helps to navigate some of the hurdles of employment. Maybe a person gets a bad review or negative feedback from a supervisor, and they're really animated about that. The job coach can help as a third party mediate that issue so that the employee can keep their job. The employer can keep what they do see as a good employee who just needed a little bit of coaching. And just a lot of other situations you can probably imagine like that, where the employee who maybe hasn't had work in a while just needs to be helped along for those first 60 to 90 or longer number of days. One really great story about that is we have a manufacturing or a furniture company in town who hired one of our Next Step graduates to do furniture manufacturing. And this person was a great employee. It was someone who's going to get promoted. It's going to be great for them. But they were a little bit sick and they were really nervous about going into work and then not being able to stay at work. All right. They might get, their symptoms might flare up and they might get sick and need to go home. And they were really nervous that needing to go home would be a big issue. So they instead didn't go into work at all, kind of a no call, no show. And so the company wasn't able to reach out to this guest. And so they were able to reach out to our job coach, who found out that a $25 Uber gift card in their back pocket gives that person the confidence that they can get home if they need to get home. And then they were able to go back into work and just keep going, running smoothly. So those are just a couple of, simple examples of prevention and diversion, how that can help wrap around a family or a person experiencing some barriers in their life, or how training and then following someone into training. So for us, that's all our own continuum. For you, it may be you have a person or you have an entity that does training and you can partner with them and you maybe come in and provide the job coach, or there's a lot of creative ways, kind of our words of wisdom as it were, as we get close to wrapping up our portion. Some words of wisdom that we have is find those local partners that are like a Trotter, like a Salvation Army or a United Way. A lot of communities are large enough that they have those. Some of the rural communities that could be a little bit more difficult, but there are people out there who are doing wraparound work. Go find them and make friends with them, because we're a nonprofit. Many of you are probably nonprofits, and I know that we are always excited to partner with people. And so when you reach out to people like us, you're going to get a lot of enthusiasm. And so that's kind of our words of wisdom, is find some of those cornerstone organizations that either do the work or know people who do the work.